Hey guys, Anissa Ferguson here from Makerspace Offices, and look who I have with me. If you are anywhere in a co-working space, then you know this is a face that you should know, right?
Luna.co is a great place for you and your business to start off with phenomenal accounting and legal services. So if you're a startup or a scale-up looking for legal and finance support, or alternatively looking to raise capital, Luna.co is where you need to be starting off. These guys have been doing it for as long as the dinosaurs have roamed Earth. And if you mention this vlog, they'll give you $200 credit towards your first kickoff.
So yeah, absolutely. Creative Cubes all the way in Australia, and I had this awesome opportunity to connect with Tobi and glean some of his expertise. And so we are in an Uber on our way back to the airport, and we just decided we're going to be creative, we're going to be spontaneous, we're just going to have a conversation.
There you go. So we're coming back from GCUC,
yes,
which is the Global Coworking Conference. What did you learn this weekend?
Okay, you know what? I learned a lot. I love the fact that it's considered the Unconference Conference. So often we get caught up in doing things in such a very regimented fashion. And for someone like me who's getting started 2 years in, to connect with someone who has over a decade of experience, it's nice to have this hybrid experience, basically, where you're able to ask questions and just be really informal and have these round tables, which was my favorite, which is how we connected. Where we're able to connect for 30-45 minutes over a curated topic, but very unscripted question and answer. What was your favorite?
Well, then I had to excuse myself because I need to go back to Australia. And you're like, hey, you heading to the airport? Let's ride.
Let's go.
So we're here. What was my favorite? You know, I thought firstly meeting a lot of great people was obviously, it's always a highlight. This is not my first GCUC.
And this is my first.
But moreover, I actually think the adjacencies were really good. So like we stayed at this really cool hotel called Citizen M.
Is that where you were, the Citizen?
Yeah. I never experienced anything like that before. And I was able to learn a lot from the hotelier on how they serve their guests in a very low touch, very cool environment, but low touch and low service, but still great experience. And so that's almost like the complete opposite to who we are as an organization. We're a high touch, high service, high experience. But it's made me think about maybe future sites I can introduce to my audience and my community a low touch option that would potentially cut out a lot of the bells and whistles. But I don't think it would be a downgraded experience, despite the fact that there would be a lot low touch, a lot less. So I think like learning from those adjacencies. I stayed in another hotel on the way out here from LA. Again, they were a high touch. I learned a lot about, concierge and that experience. US hospitality is on a whole different level to Australia. So to be able to take US hospitality back and sort of weave it into the DNA of my organization, on top of the fact that we then had a couple of days of conferencing, where we sat and learned from experts in the space and thought leaders in the space, made for a fantastic trip.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's really interesting. Like you said, the culture here, not in comparison, but in conjunction with the culture that you have in Australia, to be able to fuse the two and take the pieces, like you said, the high end, the high touch points, the lower touch points, and figure out how can I make this work in my space. And I think as operators of co-working spaces, that's something that we have this huge responsibility to be able to do, to take our collective responsibilities and our experiences, and make them work in our spaces is really big. Yeah, so which one did you like the most? Did you like the higher touch points, or did you feel like the less hands-on was still a great experience? And look where we're at. Citizen.
So
that was funny, right on time.
Yeah, coming into it, I would have said there's no ways in hell that I'm going to introduce a low touch experience. But at the same time, I also understand that there's introverts and extroverts out there, and not everyone wants to be in the environment for the social aspect.
Agreed.
A lot of people just want to come into their private office and lock the door and be tucked away and pull the blind.
Yeah.
I don't understand that personally, but it's not about me.
Neither do I.
Yeah, but it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about our customers and our members. And I think that there is a very, very, very strong user case for this potentially an adjacent brand of ours to go low touch, high tech versus high tech, high touch. So
That's interesting.
it definitely opened my eyes. I mean, I've flown, my flight on the way down is now like 22 hours. So to be able to pull amazing ingredients from the other side of the world and weave it into the DNA of my community and my experience down there,
that's awesome.
I'm excited about that, and it's definitely worth the time that I took to get here.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. You said, I don't quite understand that dynamic either. I had a member who stayed for a year, and the whole time she would literally go into her space, close the door. And I was just like, well, is she having a good experience? I couldn't really tell. We tried to gauge and engage because we have tons of events. But when she left, she was like, I love it here.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could have fooled me. I didn't even know if you cared or you didn't care.
People are people, right?
People.
They say you should never work with pets, children. But have you ever tried working with adults?
That's so funny.
But yeah, for me, look, you think you have all these ideas, you think you have all these things down, and then someone will drop a little bomb or just a spark an idea, or say something that sparks an idea, should I say?
Yeah.
And it just takes you and your business to a whole new level. It really is amazing.
That's true. It's amazing, these experiences that we have. Like, even as I'm preparing to get on the flight too, I'm thinking about all that I took in, because I'm one of the people I have to kind of sit with the information that I've received and thinking about all of the different sessions, and like you said, how can I bring these things into my community, what works for my community too, because understanding the demographics and all the socio-economic, all of the things that factor into my unique space, like what works for my community, what doesn't work. I wanted to ask you, because where you are now is certainly not where you are 9-10 years ago. What, as a takeaway or two, could you give for someone who started like me? I just have a few locations and I'm trying to build, scale, and also still have a very close touch point, like hands-on with my community. What thoughts do you have?
Lots. So the first thing is, you've got to figure out your why. Why are you doing this? Are you doing this to have a nice business? Are you doing this to drive impact? Are you doing this to enable success? Are you doing this to drive change? Figure out your why, and then just lean in on that why as hard as possible. So for me, I spent 10 years living in Los Angeles, and here in the US, the underdog and the champion are celebrated. Yeah,
very true.
In Australia, unfortunately, the champion is cut short. The tall poppy is what it's called. Tall poppy syndrome in Australia. So if there's an inkling of success, they try to bring you down, right?
Wow.
And so the vision that I had was I was trying to go upstream. I want to enable people's success. I want to cut all the BS out. I want to get rid of all the red tape. I want to prevent people from being cut down, and I want to go hard on trying to help you get to wherever it is you need to get to. And I do that by creating a sense of belonging inside of my co-working spaces. And I do that by leaning in on everything. Good, bad, ugly, straight, gay, different ethnicities, colors, whatever. If you're a good person, you're welcome in my space.
Absolutely.
And we've done that on so many different levels. We do this program called Pitch for a Spot, which is like Shark Tank. And we give away 12 months rent-free to small companies that are looking for an opportunity. So you don't even have to have money to come to Creative Cubes.
Come on.
And then I go out to large companies. Last year we partnered with Dell and Equinix, two huge technology businesses. They gave me enough money to basically power 10 businesses free of charge for a year. So those businesses have come in and they're like, hey, we've just got these cool ideas. We don't know if it's going to work. They immerse themselves in my community. They start networking amongst the audience, and they try and get themselves to a safe ground before they have to actually start paying rent.
That is so awesome. I love that. I love the layers of philanthropy, even within like tech and things like that feed and fuel the work that we as entrepreneurs do. It was really interesting. I appreciate your feedback. I was thinking about, you said your why. You know, two years ago, I would have had one answer for you when I first started, right? I definitely, we pride ourselves on helping entrepreneurs to build, brand, and broadcast their businesses. Now what's happening in America, as you know, I'm sure the world is very, very keenly watching. We have so many federal workers right now, amongst others, who have unfortunately been riffed or let go from their jobs. And so it's opened up an opportunity, if we think about it from a positive perspective, for those same individuals to take the expertise to start consulting or start other small businesses, other things, passions, projects, or whatever it is. And so I have a desire to speak now to that genre of people, to bring them in and say, hey, it's not too late. It's not too late for you to pursue the things that perhaps you felt riffed or marginalized, or whatever it is, to come in and to be able to create something great with the expertise that you have.
So like my favorite sport is basketball.
Okay.
All right. And I lean a lot on basketball fundamentals to run my business. And one of the major fundamental rules in basketball is never give up your dribble. Because what happens is, if you've got your dribble, pass, and shoot, you're a triple threat. If you pick up your dribble and you're not in the front court and you're too far away from the basket, you've only got one option, and that's to pass. Because you can't pass and shoot, you've trapped yourself. Right? And so what you need to do is maximize your opportunities by keeping the dribble alive. And so for those government workers that may feel like they've sort of been ripped, look at it as an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not a rift, because you know, like, we're not here for a long time.
Absolutely.
And so the goal is to have a good time. And I appreciate that, you know, losing your job and losing your income is very challenging. By the way, went through the pandemic,
right?
Most locked down city on the planet. I'm selling memberships to commercial real estate, and the governor of our state gets on TV and says, if you go to the office, you're going to die. You can imagine what that did to my business.
Wow.
So I get it. But at the same time, it was an opportunity, because commercial real estate has not bounced back the way it should have. People are now looking at flex.
But it gives us opportunity.
So for people watching this vlog, very quickly, do not drown your sorrows. Definitely feel your feelings, but pick yourself up, because we're not here for a long time.
Correct.
We got to have a good time. And that thing that's been sort of sitting dormant in the back of your head around, I wish I could go and do this or that, but no, I'm sitting in a job, I can support my family. Now's the opportunity.
Now's the time.
There's never been a greater time in history to start a business. Technology is cheap. I can open up a G Suite account for $10 a month. I can build a website and host it on GoDaddy for, you know, or WordPress for a couple $100s a month, and I've got a professional identity that I can then also go plug into a professional workspace and look like $1 million business very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
And win clients, win customers, immerse yourself in community, and potentially even gain customers, suppliers, and partners. It's such a huge thing. And you know, like, I really just think that there's no greater time, despite the fact that I understand the pain of someone making you leave your space of comfort.
Absolutely. But it's the same thing like what you said about COVID. I mean, of course, my heart goes out to the people who've lost their lives and those family members that they lost. But you think about, from an economic standpoint, there was so much opportunity that was created during that time. If you were creative enough to think outside the box, not get too caught up in what was happening, and still push forward, I feel like we have a very similar opportunity right now, especially, you know, in the United States with what's happening and people losing their jobs left and right. But there's this innate opportunity that people have. They just have to dig in a little bit. But if you're in Australia, you need to check out Creative Cubes. If you happen to be in the Southern Maryland area of the DMV, please come check out Makerspace offices. This has been cool.
Yeah, man.
This is great.
I love it.
All right.
And we're almost at the airport. So
almost at the airport. This was another, what did you say, conversation? What was the conversation? Wheel conversation. And in a Tesla. That nobody had to pay for.
Well, I'm paying for it.
Well, I guess he is paying for it. That was awesome.